Hello, everybody, and welcome to our overview of Aladtec for the fire industry. Thank you for joining us. My name is Dave Snyder. I'm a support specialist here with Aladtec, and I'm joined today by one of our system specialists, Matt Zinnel. Today's webinar, it's going to be about 45 minutes. We're going to offer you a quick overview of Aladtec, and then Matt will take some time to walk you through the system and show you all the specifics. We're going to hopefully get some of you to interact with us as well. We're going to throw out a couple of quick polls there to learn about a couple more things about your agencies and where you're from. And if you have questions during the webinar, take a look at the GoToWebinar control panel there, and I'll be monitoring those questions throughout the presentation here today, and maybe saving some of those for Matt to go over towards the end of the overview. But please feel free to post those whenever you like. And if at the end we have a Q&A, we'll be going over and answering as many questions before the webinar ends as well. So at this point, we're going to just take you through a little overview of Aladtec. I'm going to just tell you that we're a cloud-based scheduling and workforce management software platform. Our system is designed to handle unique staffing habits of fire and other public safety agencies. We're based here in River Falls, Wisconsin, and here's a nice shot of our building. We're about 30 minutes east of the Minneapolis-St. Paul area. Nice sunny day there. Our company started in 2002 as a web-based scheduling system for local ambulance service. And since then, we've grown to host more than 2,300 agencies with over 145 users across the United States and Canada. So odds are you have a neighbor that is using us. Our fire and rescue customers range from small rural departments with 20 members or so to large urban agencies with several hundred firefighters and paramedics. So we cover all aspects there. We do everything in-house. We do everything from engineering, our own software, to the configuration, all the way through sales and support as well. And here's some of our staff there. And when you call in through our free support, you'll always be able to get a real person here right in Wisconsin. We pick up and answer right on the phone there. You can access Aladtec from any device, anytime, 24/7 from any desktop, tablet, smartphone. It updates instantly, so users always has them, and they always have the most current version of our schedules and other content within there. And there's no extra costs. We provide all setup, training, unlimited telephone support as long as you're our customer. Here's a great shot of all our staff for support and otherwise. And with Aladtec, it's all customizable. We can create schedules as unique as your department is. As long as you describe the pattern, we can help you replicate it in the schedule and put all the rules and other elements in place that might be required by your service. We're going to start today with a little poll, as I mentioned here, and we'd love to know what kind of system that you represent. So I'm going to launch a poll here that if you wouldn't mind taking a moment to choose one and let us know what service description there best describes the agency that you represent. And we'll take a minute for everybody to get their votes in there, and we'll have a couple more of these throughout the system throughout the presentation here. So hope you get in there. So one more second here or so. Excellent. Thank you, everybody, for sharing there. And let's take a look at the results. All right. So yeah, that's fairly typical, a service with multiple stations there. Excellent. All right. So with that, I'm going to throw it over to Matt, who's going to give you an overview of Aladtec's features, some of the benefits, and it's going to help you determine whether our system's a good fit for your organization. And there's also some handouts that are there in the control panel that you'll be able to download and take away. And as Matt will explain, you'll be able to set up your own custom demo system for free if you want to proceed with that. So with that, take it away from there, Matt.
All right, thank you, Dave. Just bear with me one moment. I'm just sharing my screen here quickly.
All right. Oh, there we go. Thank you.
All right, perfect. We're all set. Thank you again, Dave, and appreciate everyone who's joining us today. As he had mentioned, I will be walking you through a test environment of the Aladtec system. So all generic information as far as the schedules and the personnel go, but as David mentioned, depending on what kind of service that you're running, we can definitely build the system out to customize and be specific to how you run at your particular agency. So we'll be going through a lot of that on the schedule. We are primarily going to be looking at the system today from an administrative perspective. I will show you kind of both sides of the coin though, as far as the user end and also the mobile site a little bit later on. So if anyone has interest in seeing what it looks like on your smartphone, that's definitely something we are also going to be covering here today. But now just starting off is our homepage. And this is the first screen that anybody's going to see right when they log into the Aladtec system. And again, all you're doing is just opening up an internet browser, typing in your unique web address, and then it'll log you in right to here. You can really personalize this first page. So if you do want to add any sort of custom content, lots of times we'll put your patch right on there and any sort of other images that you need. And then generally there's going to be a lot of different training and information that's located right under there. And then also off to the right of your homepage is going to be your dashboard. And that's where you'll see any sort of pending requests that are awaiting approval, any upcoming shifts that are telling you when you're scheduled to work next. We do offer an information expiration report. So if you did want to track any sort of expiring licenses or certifications, that is something we do also offer right here. Nice part about that is, again, it's all going to be specific to what your access is. Whereas, more of an admin within the system, that's where you'll see that report for all of your staff, where if you're logged in as, let's just say, a firefighter, you're only going to see that information as it relates to you. And then any sort of events, trades, or discussions are located right there, which we'll be going through each of those as we're navigating through the system here today. All right, so the next section we're going to be walking through in a little more detail before we jump into the calendar is the member database. This is a very important section of the system, as all of this information ties into just about every other piece of the program, as far as who's allowed to interact with what and how this information can regulate that. So ton of different ways that you can configure this page. These are some sample fields that a department may use. Again, all of this is customizable. You can add or remove any of these. And as you can see, we have a lot of those different certifications, their contact information, date hired, and it functions very similar to like an Excel sheet almost, where you can actually sort any of the columns by clicking on the headers, and all your filters are located in the top right corner. So you, like I said, track as little or as much as you'd like in this portion, but to give you kind of a better idea what is being tracked in here from the end user level, let's say we just take Herbert here and we'll hit edit member. So this is more of the profile screen that they would see on their end. And you have some basic credentials on top there, being first name, last name, login password, date hired. You can upload a little profile picture there if you'd like. And this is also where you would add in their different access levels and work groups, which those are some of the different profiles that we can create to assign different rules to different people. So what are you particularly allowed to manage within the system? Do you just manage a particular battalion or a shift, anything like that? We can regulate that through all those access levels. This is also where they would enter in their messaging information. So their mobile phone and email address will be loaded in right there. And each person can then choose how they want to be notified in some of these different scenarios, as these are more of the automated notifications, where if I would like an email when my time off is approved, I can check this box here, where I might prefer a text message for more of a trade when that's actually been processed by my admin. So they can check their preference there. And then there's also a handy tool off to the right here called the upcoming shift reminder. This is primarily beneficial to anyone who has part-time or volunteer staff, as they don't work as fixed of a schedule. So it can be really helpful for those who might be working just a couple shifts here and there throughout the month. But that'll go out again 24 hours before each of your shifts, just reminding you of when and where you're actually working that next day. Right below that is going to be our different qualifications, and this is one of those sections that will be basically different for every single one of our customers, as you can go in, define what you want your schedule names to be, and then all the different positions that are within each of those. you would then choose those positions and those qualifications on an individual's basis, and that regulates what shifts can I pick up, who can I trade with. All those different scheduling related tasks are all regulated by these qualifications right here. But again, you can have as many of those as you'd like, and you can really label them however you want to. We do also offer a time off accrual section. So if you did want to track their actual banks of time in our system, that's something we do offer. You don't necessarily have to use this feature to just pull reports on how much time off has been used within the program. This feature is more if you want to track how many hours they still have. So we can define these profiles, which will automatically load those hours into those banks. And then whenever that vacation or sick leave request is being used, that time is going to be automatically deducting from those banks, really just giving each of the employees quick and easy access to where they're at on any given day. And then this whole bottom section is really your customizable area of the database. As I had mentioned, you can add or remove any of those as you please. That's going to be right under the Members tab and the Member Database Configurator screen. And it's really just as easy as dragging and dropping any new options in here. So you have all your design options off to the left. You can pull those right in, whether it's date field, number, drop-down menus. The one to be aware of is the difference between the regular date and the expiration date. So the expiration one will pull into that report to let you know when they're coming close to expiring. On top of that, we do also offer an attachment field though. So if there was a particular document or attachment you wanted to load into that person's profile, we can pull that right into there, and then that can be attached right to them. All right, so those are really the basics of the profile. And as Dave had mentioned a few moments ago, if questions are coming up, definitely feel free to post those in the questions area. Dave is answering those, and there may be a few of them that I also will be answering at the tail end of the webinar here that I can actually show you on screen too. And there's really just one last thing here in the database as far as a feature goes that I wanted to show you. That is going to be our mass messaging function. If you wanted to send out a mass email or text message out to everybody in your roster, all you have to do is check this box top left corner and click on send message, which from there you can do an email and a text, or an email or a text message. And that can also be targeted to specific groups of people. So if you want to send it to just your part-time, just your particular station, anything like that, you can do it from there also. All right, but really overall, that was everything I wanted to talk about for the database portion. The next part is going to be the schedule, of course, the bulk of what we're going to be covering today. Before we do that, though, I am going to launch one more quick poll here. If you wouldn't mind choosing the options there. I'm curious as to how everybody is currently managing the scheduling at your agency. A lot of people may be coming from more of a manual solution, or it's possible you already have another type of similar product that we do offer, and you're just looking to see what else is out there. So it'll help give me a little perspective too to see where others are coming from. So we'll give that just a few more seconds here. All right. Go ahead and close that and share. What do we got here? All right, so it looks like, okay, so a lot of people who are using more of like a Google solution, like a shared calendar. So still familiar with the concept of being able to have that centralized location of information, but definitely something that we can show you how that's going to compare. And then spreadsheets, other solutions, perfect. All right, thank you for sharing that information. But next, like I said, let's just jump right into the schedule. So what we're looking at right now is our monthly calendar view. This is probably our most popular view across the board as far as what people are using. It really gives you a great perspective of everything that's going on for a large range of time, right? So you can see anybody who's off, any days you're short, all those changes are located right in this monthly calendar. Now, for those who might be a larger department, it's definitely very important to note that there's a lot of different filters that we can use here. So, this current system I'm looking at right now only has 4 schedules. I've definitely built systems that have upwards of 50 to 100. It's totally up to you in terms of what your needs are. But going under your filters here, I can choose just engine 1. And that's really going to reduce the size of my schedule and potentially, just show me the people that I'm managing. So those filters are very important, and we also do offer a couple of other views that I wanted to show everyone as far as our different weekly options. I have one here called our weekly shifts view. Um, Determining what view that you're going to use is generally based on, I guess, really what task you're working on at the moment. But lots of times you want to ease the transition if you are coming from more of like an Excel sheet, as trying to match it as close as possible to what's currently being done. Then we also do offer a couple of different daily options. So daily blocks view, this one will give you kind of an hour by hour breakdown to let you know who's working on any given day. You can see your minimum staffing counts are located right on the bottom of each of those. Those are all programmed in per schedule. And then we do also offer like a daily summary view, which is more of, again, just like a roster for the day. So who's working, which all of these views, if you did ever need a hard copy or anything like that, we do have a printer friendly version. As lots of times, if you're in more of a rural area, you might not have access to that internet. Perfect. So the next screen I wanted to run you through here is a little more on the user end of things. So we've mainly been looking at the system so far from an administrative perspective, but this next page here is called the My Schedule page. And this is an important screen because it just gives me my personal calendar. And ultimately, as far as training goes, this is really the only screen in our program that your paramedics or your firefighters are going to need to know how to use. Because again, they can see when they're working, and if I wanted to put in, let's say, a time off request or a trade, it's really just a matter of clicking on the shift that I want to interact with. I can hit request time off. It's really just as simple as choosing your date and your time range. You can then choose your type here. For those who had interest in the accrual system, the one nice part about when that's enabled, it'll actually tell you right here, you have 120 hours in your bank. This is going to cost you 12 and you'll have 108 after approval. So you don't have to go looking for that information. It's going to be right there in front of you. You can go ahead and hit request, and then that's going to route a notification to the person who is going to need to approve that. And then as far as trades go, if I click on a shift here that we want to do a shift trade with, we do have a couple different types of trades, and we can also set up different restrictions for possibly different groups of people. Even if one group has tighter restrictions than the other, we'll use our work groups to define that. But under the trade type here, we have giveaways, which essentially just allow you to post that your shift out there to see if somebody can pick it up for you. And it does not require payback, where a swap actually does require that you offer me a shift back before it gets approved. So it is a guaranteed a day for day exchange. So depending on how you restrict your trades, we can regulate those functions. You can trade away a portion of your day by choosing the times. And then also an important piece is this recipients list, is it's going to give you a list of everybody who's actually eligible to work for you. So in this particular example, I'm working on a medic one as a paramedic. So these are the only other staff that actually are qualified to fill what I'm working that day. And I can either send it out to everybody in this list, or I could choose an individual and say, you know, I was already talking with Bob. I know Bob's going to switch with me. I could just send it directly to him. So again, send out that trade request. That's going to send out a text or email notification, and then they can then agree to it. And again, as I had mentioned, this is what the system looks like from the desktop version. About 90% of the time, your staff nowadays, they're going to be accessing this right from their smartphone, but they can take all these exact same actions from there too. And then one other feature worth mentioning is the sharing my schedule, especially for that roughly 43% who are familiar using like a Google Calendar or an iCal calendar. You'll be managing all of your schedule data and their changes in our system, but under the Share My Schedule, this will actually allow you to sync up your scheduling data in Aladtec to an external calendar. So it'll periodically pull your schedule from Aladtec into your Google or your Apple calendar and be updating as the changes are made within our program. All right, so we are going to go back to the administrative view here quick, and we're going to approve a couple requests, and then we'll walk through how we can help you filling shifts on a given day too. All right, so any of these days that you see an item on the bottom that has this green A on it. That's indicating that's pending administrative approval. So for the trades, for example, really the supervisor gets the easy job on this, where they can click on that request. They can see exactly when it was submitted, who it was sent to, who accepted it. You have all your details right here. And then all you have to do is hit approve or deny. So once I hit approve, my job is done, because it makes the switch right on my calendar. Dustin is now working for Sue that day, sends them both a message so they know it was taken care of. And then you have this permanent trade record right there. So you can always refer back to that for reporting purposes. And then as far as time off goes, as you would imagine, pretty similar, where you can, again, click on this time off request. You can see the balances here as far as how much hours they have. You can see, again, when it was submitted. You know, if you're maybe a department who sorts these based on seniority or other factors, there's definitely a number of ways we can do that too for you. But if we hit approve, that'll remove Herbert from the schedule. Again, send him a confirmation message, and now you have this vacant position here, as that's where Herbert was originally working. And now we are actually short that day, as we're missing a medic on medic 1. So in that instance where you are possibly short or need coverage, whether or not it's for just standard overtime, Aladtec can also staff any sort of events or details. If you do a lot of staffing that's outside of your normal scope of work, we can create kind of temporary schedules that they can sign up for. Very easy thing that we can create there for you. But when you have these vacancies, let's say you need to get this backfilled. So what a lot of departments will use our system for is sending out what we call a find coverage alert. So if I click on this blue envelope, that's going to take me right to my coverage alert page. And really all you have to do is just check this box, as that's the captain position that I'm trying to fill. And then from there, I can hit send. So that should take about 2 seconds. As what this tool is doing is it's only sending this message to people who are actually qualified to work that position. It will also automatically exclude anybody who's already working during that time frame. It'll exclude anybody who's on approved leave. You could also choose the list a little more manually if you want to. So let's say maybe you have a part-time group that you want to start with. Flip that over to your work group. You could send it just to part-time. And then it is also going to be pre-populated here. In the bottom right corner, there's a preview of what that message is going to look like. So that's where you'll see the name of the schedule, the position, everything that's highlighted in yellow, that's going to be pre-populated for you. And then a link that they can click on, which that link takes them right to the system to go sign up for that. And then once you get a few volunteers, then what you can do is jump into the hourly editor page. This is where we would review a lot of those types of requests, mainly because this section is very, very customizable as far as depending on how you're going to distribute that. Maybe it's based on hours that they've already worked. I have a calculator here that I can use to give me a total number, like a year-to-date figure even. How many overtime hours have they worked? I can pull in seniority, rotating lists. It's totally up to you, and that's a part of what we would need to learn about how you are doing your scheduling now, so that way we can tailor this to what your needs are. But as you can see, I can pull in some information like that. That's what I'll use to make the decision that looks like Sandra here is the more senior of the group, so we're gonna assign it to her. And if I click on her sign up, I can also assign a particular code to this. So if there was some sort of reporting that you'd like to do on out of rank pay or a unique overtime code, we can create those for you, approve that for Sandra, and then that does a couple of things there. It does automatically decline the other signups that were entered in. All 3 people get a message letting them know they were approved or denied, and then you have Sandra, of course, filling that position and satisfying that minimum staffing requirement. Perfect. Now, one other type of scheduling I just wanted to make sure I covered, as it is very important, especially for anyone who is, you know, staffs a lot of volunteers or part-time staff. A lot of what I showed you is what people are doing if they're working more of a, running more of a crew, 24/48, that kind of thing. But what we can do for part-timers is they can go to their My Schedule. I can hit Edit Availability. And when I go to this page, this is where I can say, all right, I'm available to work this day, that day, this day, that day. You can define the actual time range. Maybe it's only from like 7 to 1900. I can go in and I can plug that all in for the following month. So all of your staff can enter that in on their own personal calendar, and the system's going to take all that information and then it's going to consolidate it to one screen for you, so you can build your schedule based on that. So if you are doing that type of scheduling based on availability, it's really just a matter of going into the hourly editor page, and let's open this up here, and you're going to see that all right in this availability section. Let's see. There we go. All right, so if I was trying to fill, let's say, this position right here, just by going into my hourly editor for that day, that's where I can see that Frankie was the one who had already submitted availability for that day. So I might choose him as an option for that shift. So I can go ahead and choose that, add that right in there, and then another main function of the hourly editor page are the drag and drop functions. So I know there's a lot of departments where you set your schedule as best as you can, but come day of, you have trades, you have time off, you have so much movement that you're going in pretty regularly and you're moving people around. So it's really just a matter of, in our system, when you're making these changes, if I wanted to take Ella here, I can actually pick up her name and I can just drag and drop her from one schedule to another. So I can move people around between those schedules very quickly and easily. And again, that's just for that day. All their normal patterns will stay as is. And the system also will not let you put somebody into a position they're not qualified for. For example, if I try to grab Lawrence here, it'll gray out that lieutenant position because Lawrence is not a lieutenant. All right, so those are really some of the main scheduling functions that I wanted to run you through here today. There are a few other tools that we're going to be going through specifically. The forms tool is one that I'm going to cover in quite a bit of detail. Again, if you're having questions, feel free to be dropping those in the chat. I know Dave's getting those answered as they're coming in. Looks like we have a few good ones rolling in here. All right. But yeah, and again, we can always circle back to the schedule itself if anyone does have any specific questions on that. But let's move on to the forms really quick. So this is a great part of the system that is very flexible and very customizable as far as being able to create whatever forms you want. These are just some samples that we have loaded in here depending on really what other departments are using. And the best part about what the forms tool is giving you is it's allowing you to go paperless if you're doing a lot of these on paper at the moment. Put them into an electronic system and then allow them to fill this out right on their smartphone. Or I know a lot of departments, you have iPads on the rigs where you can actually just use that iPad to actually go through while you're walking around and fill out this form. So if doing any sort of inspections, it's pretty convenient. I can also structure in certain notifications if whenever this form is submitted that you want it to notify a particular person or group of people. You can definitely structure it in that way. I could even have it be based on if everything is perfectly fine in that inspection, then it will just get logged. Where if something is wrong with that particular item, you can have that automatically route a notification based on that selection. So we can get pretty creative here as far as what we create, and that can also be done yourself too. So if anyone is wanting to try this on their own, whether you're in a custom system or if you're considering going to our website and actually signing up for a generic demo, you'll be able to go in here and you can actually just drag and drop any new fields. There's a ton of different design options in here as far as checkboxes, date fields. We have those attachments, a lot more options than the member database, as it's a little more interactive. We do have a signature box here where people can actually electronically sign that. You can pull in a few other options. So ton of great ways that we can actually customize this for you. And usually it's best if you just send us a copy of what you're using now, and then we can always make suggestions on how other departments might be having some of these built out for you. And I think one other section that's really important for the forms tool is the reporting options. Now you can of course pull up any sort of individual submission. You can print it, you can save it as a PDF, you can pull it out individually, but the reports, what that will allow you to do is actually generate a report to show you, let's say, every single vehicle checklist that was submitted last year. I could take this massive report, I could dial that down to specifically just show me all the submissions for this specific unit and anytime that this item was broken. So there's a ton of different ways that you can utilize this filter here, give you to drill down just the data that you're looking for. And then as all of our reports do offer this, you can then take that information and you can actually export it into Excel in a CSV format. So if you are trying to run any sort of specific analytics from there, that's definitely something we have a lot of people doing. All right. So the next portion I wanted to run through is the reports. We're not going to spend a ton of time in here, but there's a couple that I wanted to point out. One of them being the individual member report. This is a nice report that all of your staff will have the ability to pull on themselves. So if they want to see the hours that they worked last pay period, if they want to see what paid time off has been used, what their accrual banks are looking like, they don't have to go to an admin to get these sort of numbers for themselves. They can definitely pull this report on their own. Where you as an administrator within the system, you of course have a lot more comprehensive reports that are going to give you everybody's schedule data. And that's kind of the rule of thumb with these is anything that's actually on the calendar are going to be in these reports. Again, you can use your filters though. Always keep an eye out for that edit link. That's going to always be your go-to to click on if you're trying to show something or hide something. And then you can say, maybe I just want to run this for a particular type of overtime as we're looking to run what Q1 overtime look like. So you can choose those time codes there, specifically choose your time range, totally up to you. And then again, all of these reports, they export right into Excel. Or can be printed or saved to a PDF. So if you need to attach that to an email and fire it off to somebody, you can do that. And then one other report here, basically all the same data, it just looks different. This is our summary report that will give you a total number of hours rather than a breakdown per shift. So that's just a matter of preference. One of the other reports I wanted to show you is called the system log. So the system log will actually give you, let's choose September here. It'll give you a date and timestamp for any action that's ever taken within our system. So this is really important because it gives you that audit trail to always refer back to. Definitely had people who have told us, we were able to resolve a grievance because I was able to quickly prove that you actually had your submission in a minute before that other person did. So having this type of audit trail is really important, especially if you're coming from more of a, like a spreadsheet solution where that probably isn't something that it currently can do for you. Now, there's a lot of information in here. It doesn't fall off at any point in time. You can always refer back to it from day one of when you're using our system and check that data. And then there is one other messaging tool that I wanted to show you here that kind of goes hand in hand with just accountability in general. That's called our required messages. So this is where I can go in, I can create a required message. So let's create a new message here. So you can type that in. Type in whatever you'd like there, and then you can send it out to a certain group or an individual through these options here, whether it's a work group or access level, anything like that. So we'll save that. And really the main difference of this feature is it doesn't go out of the program like a text or an email, but the next time that person logs into our program, this is what they're going to see. And they have to acknowledge it, which is the best part. They can click on whatever they want. There's no way to bypass this. They have to check this box that says, I agree that I've read and understand this, and then hit continue. So you are going to get that acknowledgement from them. And then what you can do at any point is you can then go back into your required messages and you can see the list of everybody who you sent it to and when exactly they have acknowledged your message. And that is commonly used even for different policies or training material, SOPs, anything like that, which if you want to notify, hey, there's been a revision to this particular SOP, please refer to the storage area, is a message that I'll see often. And that's where you can actually load those documents right into our storage area. I can create some different, some folders here to organize those, but you can definitely upload all that information. You do have 200 gigabytes of storage space, which is a ton of space, but just in case this question does come up, that is really the only part of our system that does have a data cap on it though. All right, we do also offer a discussions area. If you wanted to create a topic for discussion, you can go through, create that topic, and then people can make comments on it. This can be regulated if you only want certain people to be allowed to see this tool. It can just be turned off if you think it might be abused. Totally up to you as far as what your needs are if you already have something like that. And that goes across the board with all of our different features as far as things that can be turned on or turned off, depending on what your choices are. But lastly on our navigation is going to be our help section, especially for anybody who is considering signing up for a generic demo. Take a look at the help section. If there's a particular area you want to learn a little bit more about, I'm being pretty high level on a lot of these functions. Feel free to take a look at these. There's a ton of great training videos in here. And then one that's important too, if you want to see what it looks like firsthand right on your smartphone, you can check out our mobile video that'll walk you through how to set it up on your smartphone. But that's really what we're going to be jumping into next here is the actual mobile version. I wanted to make sure I showed everybody a little preview of what that's going to look like. So give me just one moment here. We are going to switch this over to mobile. And this is essentially what it's going to look like on your phone. So from here, right when you log in, you're going to see your dashboard. It's going to show you the next couple of upcoming shifts that you have. It's also going to show you any available trades. If anybody had just sent you, let's say a text message, you get that text, you open up your mobile site, that trade will be sitting right here. Same with the open shifts. This is upcoming time off that you have and any sort of upcoming events. So again, really just anything that's coming up in the near future is going to be right on that first screen. If you tap on the top right corner, that's where you have your menu. I can click on a daily summary. The daily summary is going to show me everybody who's working that day. So if I want to know maybe who I'm working with, this is the screen I would choose. So I can see, Herbert, I'm working on Medic 1. Your name will be highlighted in yellow, so it's a little easier for you to find yourself, but you can see who you're working with that day. And then you can also utilize the My Schedule page. So the My Schedule is going to give you that same, a very similar calendar view that you were looking at on the desktop version, where you can take all the same actions. If you tap on any of these days, that's what it's going to tell you down here, what you're working that day. So if I tap on the 20th, you'll see that one has that orange bar right there. That was the one I already requested time off for. But really just as simple as tapping on the shift itself. And again, I can either request a trade, request time off. I can also turn on my open shifts. So if I click on view options, go to open shifts here, that'll show me any vacancies that are out there. So I can see there's an open spot on Medic 1 here. And it's just as easy as tapping right on that, hitting sign up, and I've now volunteered to work that. And then one last My Schedule function here too, is you do also have the ability to add your availability, which also works really slick on the mobile as far as being able to just select, I'm available these certain days. After we choose those, I can define the time range, select what type of time I'd like to use, add that availability in there, and then now my schedulers know when I'm available to work. All right. So at this time, that's really the general overview of the Aladtec system and a lot of its different functions. I want to open it up to any additional questions that I will actually be answering here on screen, so that it can give you a little bit better of a visual on that. There are a lot of other back-end features and settings that we haven't gone through yet, but that's more of what we would go through with you on like a one-on-one conversation of, hey, I have this specific rule, how does it work? But I'll do my best to answer those here today. All right. So we have a question from Michael, which is there a way to show shift colors on the dates of the calendar? There absolutely is. So that is for anybody who's running, more of like a California or a 24/48 ABC style rotation, you can definitely add in some sort of labels to the schedule. So that is all done right under your setup tab here. And this is where a lot of the backend settings are going to be. So if you click on the top left, it would actually be the name of your department right here. We click on that, we're going to go to setup, and we're going to go to shift labels, and this is where I can say, all right, starting September 1st, we have A shift, and A shift is going to be red, and then we have B shift is going to be blue, and C shift. We can definitely get more complex with this as far as your patterns go. But if it was something as simple as just running an ABC, when you add those shift labels on there, we'll give you a little splash of color so you can scan at a glance here and see what shift is working that day. All right, looks like we have a question here from Dave about regulating some of their part-time staff and what hours. Okay, so those are going to be in the actual work groups. I'd mentioned these a little bit early on as far as what work groups are. There's some of the different rules that we can apply to people, and I can create as many of them as you want if you have different restrictions for different groups, like your full-time, part-time, volunteer. So what you're looking for, Dave, is what we call work limits. Work limits are how we can actually enter in a threshold here and say, we really don't want you working more than 24 hours in a row. And that's going to have it show you a warning. Where for part-time staff, what you're more looking for is, I really don't want any of my part-timers to ever go over more than 36 in a week. And you could instead change that from showing you a warning to just do not allow that. And the system will physically not allow you to put the person over that mark. Where again, those rules are probably quite different with your full-timers, where they're generally getting overtime and different additional times like that. Okay. It looks like it looks like Jake here had actually pointed out, now that we're in the setup area, integrations. That's a common question we get is do you integrate with anybody? What are your different options there? We definitely do. And if I click on this here, so if anybody is using any sort of EPCR or any other reporting systems, specifically the ones that you see here, we already have an integration built with. So emergency reporting, ESO. So if you want to learn a little bit more about what other options are, we're always willing and open to looking to doing more of these. We just need a little bit more information about what actually needs to be done, and a contact over there, and we can go from that starting point. And then as far as just transferring information to, we do also offer an API. So if anyone did want to create like a custom dashboard, or just really get access to the information in Aladtec and then write a program to do whatever you'd like with it from there, we can give you API access through our system. That would be quoted upon request. So definitely something you just have to ask us about. All right. And one more question here. Someone did ask about the time clock. If you are interested in our time clock, that's another one of our additional modules, fully integrated into the schedule as far as, the time clock knows when you should be working. So this is what it actually looks like. And from here, if you want this running on any sort of specific machine, we can have it installed on a particular computer. They can clock in, clock out. That gives you some nice reporting. It's really more for accountability. As far as if you have any issues with staff being late or not knowing if they're at a station when they should be at a station, and needing this to help tell you where they are and when they're there. The time clock can be a great solution for that too. So again, anybody who's interested in taking a look into Aladtec a little bit deeper, or getting a demo customized specifically for yourself, you can just give us a call, speak with one of our account representatives, and they will have someone like myself here actually build you out a custom demo that's a little more specific to your needs. But if you are interested in really just getting your hands more on the generic version, you can always go to our website. We do also, in the chat here, they have a link that you can click on to take you right to that site. That's probably about it as far as time goes that I have for questions today. But just to wrap up, like I said, there are a few links in the chat there. There are also some handouts. We are going to leave this session open for a few minutes. If you want to click through some of those and get those downloaded, feel free to go to those handouts. But again, I just want to thank everyone for who joined us today. Hope I've kind of shown you how Aladtec can possibly streamline your scheduling tasks and chores. So again, feel free to give us a call. That's going to be at 888-749-5550, or you can visit our website for any sort of customer reviews, videos, any additional details at www.aladtec.com. Thanks, everyone.